Oh, hi there. This is insidetracks.co.uk. We have a website. We do videos like this to help people to understand how to trade smarter. And we also have a newsletter, which is free, which you can sign up to on the website, which gives you every day or most days hints and tips on what's going to come up in the day. And hopefully we'll make you some money. So sign up to that, like and share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you like it. So what we're going to cover today is quite straightforward, but actually doesn't really sometimes hit people that this is a real good opportunity to make some decent profit. And that is, we've all heard about scalping. Most people scalp a market pre-race, quite rightly so. There's lots of software out there that can help you. And people make okay money scalping pre-race. And there's all sorts of videos I've done on scalping, looking for when to come in, when to go out, and also looking for the sort of horses to scalp, and also identifying the direction a market's liable to go in, a horse's market's liable to go in. So there's lots of videos on scalping pre-race, but I don't think there's too many videos on scalping in play. So that's what I'm going to cover today, and I'll go through the first thoughts with you in just a second. So unlike scalping pre-race, scalping in play has to be done on very specific terms. And I've listed those below, and I'm just going to go through each of them and the reasons why, so that you can understand the background to why scalping in play is not something that you can do in every race, whereas you can scalp pre-race. Most races are available for scalping pre-race. So in-play scalping needs to be done very carefully. So the first thing to do is to actually choose the right races. Now, the whole point about scalping in play is that prices will move around and give you opportunity to take a higher price than it should be, and then trade out of that at a lower price than it should be. And we can do that in long distance races. Short distance races, prices move far too fast. There are opportunities to scalp in short races, but there's a little opportunity for you to do it necessarily over a period of time and at low risk. The shorter the race, the quicker it goes, the quicker you have to be in terms of taking a price and getting rid of it. Whereas over long distance races, you have more time to see how a horse is settling, more time to see where the prices are going, and more time, therefore, to take the difference between the top of the betting and the bottom of the betting. So the first thing is long distance races. That's either on the flat or over the jumps. As you know, I prefer the flat because horses don't fall over very often on the flat, and therefore that risk is eliminated. But you can do this over the jumps, but just don't trade just before a fence, because you might get left with a positive trade, i.e. a back bet, and then your horse goes down and you lose all your money. So that's not good news. So choose a horse who is overweighted and stable. If you want more information on how weighted horses are calculated and stable, then there's videos on that as well. But I'll show you in a second when we go to an actual live race what is meant by overweighted and stable. But choose a horse that's in that situation. Scalp in the early stages of the race. Again, in the early stages of the race, very little, in fact, happens in the early stages of the race. So if you take the very early stages of a 2-mile race, for instance, on the flat, even if a horse comes out quite slowly from the stalls, it's not the end of the world. Whereas if you're, for instance, trying to scalp in play on a 5-furlong race and your horse misses the break, that's it. It will dive out, and unless you're on the right side of the bet, you will be in trouble. Equally, if you are laying the horse and it gets out of the stalls very quickly into the front, you could well find yourself on the wrong end of that lay bet as well. So scalp early in the race generally means not exactly at the right at the beginning. It means when the prices have settled down. So what is the big advantage of doing in-play scalping versus scalping pre-race? Well, actually, there's more volatility. If you take a race, even a long distance race, the race will only last 3 or 4 minutes. Whereas pre-race, there's betting and trading going on, from the previous evening. And as we get to the last 10 minutes, as we all know, 80% of the money comes, but it's still fairly fast and furious. And actually, it isn't as controlled as in play, in fact. So when you get to the last 5 minutes, you can find that a horse that's overweight and stable, suddenly there's a whole lot of professional money coming in the last 5 minutes, and it can send it one way or another. And then, again, I've given you videos on that which show you what happens when an overweighted horse breaks out of its trading corridor. So you can watch that as well. But there is, in fact, more volatility in an in-play situation than there is pre-race. And I'll show you that in an example. I'm going to take you to a race and show you what I mean. So there's more volatility than pre-race, and there's more chance of being matched. So often you'll be there pre-race, and you will want to get your £10 or whatever you're betting, whatever your stake is, matched, and you know that you want 4.6, for instance. There's £150 on 4.6, so you're there in the queue to get matched, and it's all there to be had, because you don't want to take 4.5 because 4.5 is on offer to everyone, and so you're waiting to get matched, and once you're matched on 4.6, then of course you're trying to get 4.5 or 4.4. That's clear. That's the way we work pre-race. So that the fact is that when you're trying to get matched pre-race, often that doesn't happen very quickly. It certainly doesn't happen very quickly, an hour before the race, and it certainly doesn't happen that quickly, even half an hour before the race. Being matched pre-race is the same as I was talking about just earlier. In the last 10 minutes, more money comes in, and suddenly it all goes a bit wild. So again, why would we want to trade and scalp in play? Because in fact, what I would say to you is that actually the volatility that you see in an in-play situation, in a long distance race in the first early stages, the volatility you see doesn't actually represent the risk, because quite often you'll see horses moving a point or two in the first, say, 3 furlongs of a 2-mile race. Well, it's made no difference whatsoever to the chances of that horse, virtually none, and yet you've seen a point difference. So you can get that point difference with virtually no risk, because the horse hasn't done anything wrong, hasn't done anything right. There's nothing really there, unless the damn thing hits the first fence and drifts madly out. As long as it's jumping, it's within 5 lengths of the leader. As long as it's not done anything wrong, the volatility doesn't equal the risk. And in play, that's quite often what happens. The volatility you see doesn't represent the risk. The difficulty is in play is that there's a need for speed often, and also you can get caught out in play, particularly, as I've mentioned, in short races where markets can move quite rapidly and quite significantly, and you could get caught on the wrong side. So what we're looking for now is a horse that's going to move a decent amount, but for no real absolute reason. There's no real change in the risk you've seen, and therefore, as again, everyone, I hope, listening to this video knows, is that the absolute chance, or the best expression of the chance of a horse winning the race, is at the off. That's when all the money's come on, all the knowing money, all the non-knowing money, everything's come on. So the actual starting price represents all the knowledge that is out there That's the professional money. That's the trainers. That's the jockeys. That's the punters. Everybody's money is on the horse, and everybody's had a chance to take a price. And so actually, when you get to the off, that is the ultimate saying. That's what it should be. If there was a coin toss, if everybody had their money on, it would be 50-50. And at the off, it might vary around a bit, you know, in the pre-trading, because some people might think it's, you know, a biased coin or whatever. But basically, when all the money's said and done, it should be 50-50. The coin toss is going to be head or tails. And similarly in a race, all the knowledge is on the table. All the money that's going to go on this race has gone onto it, and the starting price is therefore the chance of the horse winning. Now, of course, as we all know, once the race starts, and this is why I'm talking about long distance races, once the race starts, if a horse does something wrong, hits a fence, or gets out quickly, or gets out slowly, or doesn't have the hood taken off, then the actual chances and the risk of the horse either winning or losing goes up and down. But if nothing happens, and the price goes up and down, and the risk doesn't change, brilliant. No risk, price is moving. We can do some trading that is risk-free. So now we're going to look at the Sandown 440, 2 mile, 4 furlong novice handicap chase. And we're going to just go through the process that I would go through to look at what is worth in play trading. I'm not going to do any trading because I would normally use software. I'm not going to use software because I always find these videos are easier for people to follow without the software. Often when you have ladders and things running around, it becomes more confusing as a discussion. So let's just not use software, excuse me, or ladders. Let's just use the normal Betfair trading platform. So I pulled up the favorite. I'm just going to quickly explain how to work out whether this is an overweighted or underweighted horse. So all you do to work out whether this is underweighted or overweighted. Underweighted would be there's less money on this horse than you'd expect, and overweighted is there's more money on this horse than you'd expect. Now you can see there's 21,000 or 22,000 just about being put on this selection. The market has 105,000, so if you divide one into the other, it's about 5. Last price match is 4.8. Therefore, this horse is pretty much perfectly weighted. It's got the money you'd expect. A fifth of the money has gone on a horse that's 5 to 1. And everybody tells me it's not 5 to 1, it's 4 to 1. It is 4 to 1, but then there's the fifth bit, which is what you actually have to look at. So 5 times 22 is 110. That is how much money there should be on this race. Okay, so let's not have the discussion about whether that should be 4 or that should be whatever. It's 4 to 1. I understand, but it's 5 that you look at and you times it by that. So let's have a look at the next horse down, the second favorite, and we'll see that this is 4 times 31, which is 124. So this is an overweighted horse. In fact, it's got more money on it than you expect. It has actually drifted earlier on, and now coming towards the start of the race, which is only 10 minutes away, we are seeing money come for this horse, and it is money that is more than you'd expect. So if you were stood on a race course, this horse is the one where someone's come up and said, I'm going to have £500 to win, or £500 to lay, but we don't do that on a race course. We can't do that on a race course. So this is an overweighted horse. It's not particularly stable. I mean, it's been relatively stable, in, not seeing great big jumps around. It's reasonably stable. It's stably going out, then stably coming back in again. And I would always trust this money than that money, basically, because there's lots more money here, as you can see. See, the peaks are much higher than here. So this is only a small amount of money that sent it out, and this is a large amount of money that's brought it back in again. So we have an overweighted horse with this particular one, Harry Skelton. Yeah, we like Harry Skelton. Anybody who doesn't like Harry Skelton has to go back and think about it again. So that's one of these horses where you say, actually, that's very interesting. I might look at scalping that. What I prefer to see with the horse I want to scalp is that it's stable as well. So I prefer to see this one sort of 4.8 across the board. But okay, it's one to consider. Brief Ambition, you'd kind of expect it not to be overweighted because we've got the favorite is okay weighted, and the second favorite is overweighted. So we expect kind of this one to be underweighted. So let's see, if that was 6 and that was 20, it'd be 120, but it's not. It's 5.7 and 18, so it's slightly underweighted. Not hugely, but slightly underweighted. And it's drifting sort of fairly consistently drifting. So again, Brief Ambition could be one because it's not particularly liked by the market. And when it goes off, it's liable to go off at somewhere around about, well, if it keeps drifting, it should go off about 6. And we can look out for that one and just see whether we can get better odds than 6 and start to scalp it. Next one up is Up the Straight. 6 times 20, 120, very slightly underweighted, pretty okay. Again, sort of doing a little bit of this. So yeah, interesting, quite interesting actually. So all these are relatively interesting, but I prefer Bigstown because of its weighting. But you could have a look at all these actually. And this one is 9 times 15, 90 and 15, 45 is 135. Actually, again, incredibly evenly weighted, much more than I would have thought. I would have been underweighted, but it's not. It's got the money on it should have. This hasn't, clearly. 9 times 12 is 98 and it's 141. This is quite an underweighted horse. So Jacomar is not really fancied by too many people. Not a lot of money coming to back it. Not a lot of money actually coming to lay it. So you would expect that to see more volatility, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. If you looked at the other horses we've just looked at, they're not bouncing around like this in the short term, are they? They're much more like that. You know, quite close. Even if they're going up and down, they're quite close. So we would expect more volatility from an underweighted horse, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And finally, Nelson River, 23 times 4, 100, isn't it? 100, just over 100. So again, a very underweighted horse, and again, you can see a lot of volatility there. So it's not really, no one's particularly after Nelson River. So again, Jacomar and Nelson River, highly underweighted, not a lot of interest in them. Would be surprised for me to see them storm home. And the one that interests me the most is Beakstown, and the other 3 are evenly weighted. The other 3 sort of short price horses are slightly under. Are either overweighted or evenly weighted. So again, there we go. That's how to look at the race. That's how to think about which horse to go for. Actually, if you're used to doing this sort of thing, you'll notice that this is actually quite even betting. These 5 are quite closely matched. It's quite unusual to see that. Normally you have a favorite who's quite short, and then 2 or 3 that are a bit away from them, and then the rest are sort of quite long price. This is only a 7-runner field, and we've got 4 or 5 of them who've got quite a reasonable chance. So let's just wait and see. We've got another 5 minutes for the race. I'll come back when the race starts, and we'll have a look at how the betting goes versus what we see on the screen, and I'll explain why there are going to be some really quite decent opportunities to scalp in play on this particular race. Okay, we're coming close to the race now, and I'm just going to do a quick update on where we are. So we're seeing that the favourite, 4.5 times that, is still slightly underweighted, but it's being backed. Bigstown is yeah, 5 times that is 400. So still overweighted is Beakstown, but and quite stable. So if we can get a higher price than 4.6 or 4.7, if we can get up to sort of 5.5 with Beakstown, we should be able to see some scalping activity between sort of 5.3 and 4.6. So that should be the sort of thing we're looking for. The rest, well, we see that Brief Ambition is still drifting up the straight, is still there. So now we're off, okay. And so I'm going to get rid of this particular graphic, if I can, and we're going to have a quick look at the racing. So they're running, and we can see that Beakstown. We can start scalping Beakstown. He went off at 4.7. We could have done 4.8 there. Now he's down to 4.4. So we can do 4.8, 4.4, 4.8. He should come 4.9. We're like, yeah, 5 would go with. So we can do 5. And then we should see him come back in from 5, 5.1, 5.2, going back in. So we can get him now at 4.8. We should probably get him back at. So we're doing sort of 5.2 to 4.8 now. And we're seeing that basically there's nothing changed in this race whatsoever. There's Beakstown, and there's absolutely nothing changed. And he's now 5.6. We take some of that, definitely take some of 5.6. We've mentioned that that is exactly what we like to see. So we've got 5.6. We took quite a lot of 5.6. We can probably get back down now to 4.7, 4.8. 4.7, 4.8, come on, 4.8, there you go. 4.5, 4.6. So we got it down to 4.7. That's what we were looking for. 4.7, 4.8. Now if it comes back up to 5 point something, we'll take 5 point something. Do you see that ultimately, and if it keeps going down, we don't mind, but we're pretty much going to have done now. We got our 5.6 and we got 4.4. That's what I was saying to you we needed, okay? So for absolutely no risk whatsoever, we have done Beakstown, but we could continue to do him. 5, I'd take 5, and then back down to 4.5. Yeah, back down to 4.5. Then he's got 4.4 now. So I could do him for a bit longer, but I don't go very much longer than this because now we're beginning to see him go well down below his starting price, and now he's looking too short. 3.55 is too short. You don't want to start taking 3.55 in any way, shape, or form because he went off at 4.6, 4.7. So what you want to do is be on a horse that has been so heavily backed and we're so stable. He's not going to, unless he does something wrong, and we're watching the race. Unless he does something wrong, he's worth 4.7. He's worth his off price. Yeah. So what we want to do, we want to look for something above 4.7, above his off price, because that's the actual chance he's got of winning, and take that price, so 5.5, which is his upper level price, which somebody took pre-race. We want to take 5.5, yeah, and then we know pretty sure because of the way the market works that as long as he does nothing wrong, as long as he jumps the fences, we can then bring him back in to his 4.6, 4.7. So we're going to get a nearly a point trading. Now we're into sort of more the normal race. He's now too low at 3.2. You may, if you have the stomach for it, at this point in the race with its 2 mile 4, it's still got quite a long way to go. You could start taking the 3 and seeing if you can go 3 to 3.4. That is not what I do, but you could say he's now too short, and you would start saying 3 and then start trying to get 3.7 because he's not way out in front, is he? He's not doing anything amazing. He's got the favorite right on his withers, so we could start scalping here quite happily. Look at it, 3.3 you had 3, and now he's down out to 4.7. So yeah, the idea here, and he's beginning to struggle actually. So he's going to drift quite a lot more. So maybe you want to scalp a bit more, but I don't. I tend to do it in the first bit of the race where I'm not taking too many chances. You start scalping him at 3 or less, and yeah, look, you could be well behind the curve now. He looked like he was struggling, but I don't like doing it when he's still in this phase. Other people do. Other people say, you know, come on, 1.8 is far too much for a horse that looks as if it was struggling 4 out, is being really heavily driven, and you've got a red one coming up on the outside, is going to probably take him now. So yeah, I mean, there are people who will know what's going on in this race and start going, yeah, I'll scalp. But to be honest with you, you're taking more risks than I would want to take. So yeah, Bigstown, we scalped him. We could have kept scalping him and thought he was too short, because he went too short. I don't do that. I tend to go in the middle of the race, the start of the race, and take the point. So I hope you all feel that was useful. Look for these long distance races. Yeah. So if we just review it, choose a long distance event. Choose a horse who is overweighted and stable, relatively stable. As I said, I would have preferred to have seen Bigstown more on the level, but that's fine. You can see that his upper level of being traded was 5.5, 5.6. So we're looking for that in the first part of the race. We're looking for him to drift out to that when he hasn't done anything wrong. And then we know that he's going to come down to 4.7 and maybe lower, which he did. So we would have managed to get a point out of that race, no problem. And then cash out whatever our thing was and make an easy 20% profit. Scalp early in the race. Mentioned that there's virtually no risk in the early part of the race because there's a long time for the horses to catch up, to make amends or whatever. But I'm looking for the fact that I don't even want to have a horse that's made a mistake. I want just the prices to change for no particular reason. No particular reason apart from some in running players want to make some bets based on what they've seen, and I don't think that volatility is the risk, because there is more volatility in the race. You see prices being taken much more quickly. If I was out at 5.6, I was taken quite quickly. If I come back into 4.4, I'll be taken quite quickly. So the volatility is there, and being matched is good. So really, we got a point out of this, cashed out on him, made 20% of our money, and there was virtually no risk. Okay. Good luck, guys. If you're going to follow that, please do subscribe and like if you like. Look at the newsletter, which we do on the website, insidetracks.co.uk, and leave some comments if you found it useful. Cheers. Best of luck.